Everyone on the planet is impacted by climate change, whether it is through hotter summers, more frequent and intense natural disasters, or shortages of your favorite foods. This is due to the fact that climate change is a global issue. As greenhouse gases build up in the atmosphere, more solar heat is trapped closer to the surface of the Earth, raising temperatures and upsetting previously stable systems. But even as the richest nations prolong and exacerbate the catastrophe, climate change is also playing out along lines of inequality, harming the poorest nations the most. Here are the 10 facts about climate change. 1. Our atmosphere contains the highest amount of carbon dioxide ever recorded in human history. Sensors at the Mauna Loa Observatory in Hawaii, which has been monitoring Earth's atmospheric CO2 concentration since the late 1950s, found CO2 values of more than 417 ppm in February and March 2021. Pre-industrial levels were 278 ppm, therefore the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere due to human activity is halfway to being doubled. 2. Global warming is on track to reach 1.5 degrees Celsius. The countries who supported the Paris Agreement set an ambitious goal to limit global warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius in 2015. The most recent IPCC assessment highlights how challenging it will be for the world to keep inside that limit, without a very rapid reduction in emissions. The paper simulates 5 possible future emission scenarios, ranging from extremely high emissions to very low emissions, and predicts that global temperatures would rise by at least 1.5 degrees Celsius in each scenario. 3. There is not much carbon in our budget left. Climate change is fundamentally very easy to understand. Global temperatures will rise at a rate that increases with the amount of carbon dioxide and other warming gases that humans add to the atmosphere. Humans contributed about 2,390 gigatons of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere between 1850 and 2019. In comparison to pre-industrial levels, these emissions have so far resulted in 1.07 degrees Celsius of warming. 4. Heat waves have increased in severity and frequency. To understand how frequently and how severely hot weather events are becoming more common due to climate change, one only needs to consider the recent deadly wildfires in Australia, California, or southern Europe. The frequency of heavy rain has increased due to climate change. One day of extremely heavy rain, which would have only occurred once every 10 years 150 years ago, today occurs 1.3 times per 10 years. We may anticipate that these extreme weather events will be hotter and wetter than those that came before them as frequency and intensity both rise. 5. A 1.07 degrees Celsius warming has already been attributed to humans. According to the IPCC study, the current global surface temperature is 1.07 degrees Celsius warmer than it was between 1850 and 1900. With 2016 to 2020 being the hottest 5-year period observed since at least 1850, the rise in global surface temperatures since 1970 has been more rapid than in any 50-year period over the previous 2,000 years. In case there was any lingering question, the IPCC report makes it quite obvious that greenhouse gases emitted by humans are the primary cause of global temperature changes. 6. Today, sea levels are increasing more quickly than ever. Sea levels rise as a result of melting glaciers and ice sheets, as well as warming oceans. Sea levels have risen more quickly since 1900 than they have in any previous century in at least the last 3,000 years, and this trend is expected to endure for a very long time. Sea level rise is already factored in to a large extent since seas take a long time to warm. 7. The Arctic sea ice is vanishing quickly. More quickly than nearly anywhere else on the planet, the Arctic is experiencing a rise in temperature. Annual Arctic sea ice fell to its lowest level between 2011 and 2020, and the late summer Arctic sea ice was at its lowest level since at least 1850. The sea ice minimum will drop below 1 million square kilometers at least once before 2050 under every future emission scenario in the IPCC assessment, making the region essentially sea ice free. 8. Human activity affected 2/3 of the extreme weather events that occurred over the past 20 years. Since 1980, the frequency of floods and torrential storms has doubled. In the past 40 years, the frequency of extreme heat, droughts, and wildfires has more than doubled. Climate scientists are looking more and more at how human activity contributes to storms, heat waves, floods, and droughts. Data from 230 Research was compiled by Carbon Brief, a website headquartered in the UK that covers climate science, and it was shown that 68% of all extreme weather events evaluated in the last 20 years were made more likely or more severe by human-caused climate change. 43% of these occurrences are heat waves, 17% are droughts, and 16% are heavy rain or flooding. 9. By 2050, Dengue disease may have spread to much of the southeast United States. Dengue is the fastest growing mosquito-borne virus in the world, impacting about 100 million people a year and currently killing 10,000 people. Aedes aegypti mosquitoes, which transmit the disease, may thrive in environments that were previously inappropriate for them as a result of rising global temperatures and gain from shortened incubation periods. 10. In just over 40 years, wildlife populations have decreased on average by 60%. The Zoological Society of London reported that between 1970 and 2014, the average size of vertebrate populations decreased by 60%. According to a UN-backed international group of scientists, climate change is becoming a bigger factor in the extinction of species. It is considered to be the third major cause of biodiversity loss. 5% of animal and plant species will be in danger of going extinct even under a 2-degree warming scenario. Extreme warming events are very dangerous for coral reefs. Therefore, what we do today, tomorrow, and over the next weeks and months will determine whether we can prevent a global climate disaster and create a future that works for everyone. We must call on governments to invest in renewable energy and phase out fossil fuels right away, while also implementing circular economies within our own communities. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up.